Hey guys, Captain here, and to start out the Pokemon videos on this channel, I'll make a video right here of how to actually play the Pokemon trading card game, because someone requested it. I figured it would be a good place to start. Anyway, to play, you need to have a 60 card deck, and I'll make a video on how to build a deck some other time, but for now, that's all you need to know. You need a deck, and you need an opponent. And you start the game by drawing 7 cards. I should mention this deck is a pretty crummy deck that I use just for casual play against friends, who don't build like competitive level decks or anything like that, or don't have the money to buy expensive cards, because some cards can definitely be expensive. I should also mention that I've basically rigged this this hand that I drew, so even before I did this, I already know exactly what card is in this hand. Anyway, what you do at the beginning of the game, once you draw those 7 cards, you look to check if there are any basic Pokemon. Basic Pokemon will be noted somewhere on the card. For example, here it says basic, and basically they're not evolved Pokemon. So even if you can't find where it says on the card, if you know anything about Pokemon, you'll be able to say Arbok. That's an evolved Pokemon. It's not a basic. And you pick one and place it face down as your active Pokemon. And if you have multiple, you can put them face down on your bench. You can have up to 5 Pokemon on your bench. So in total, you'll have 6 Pokemon, much like in a video game Pokemon battle. If you don't have one of these, you're going to have to show your opponent your hand, and you're going to have to shuffle it back into the deck and draw another hand, and your opponent has the option of drawing a free card, presuming, of course, they also had a basic Pokemon. On the other side of the field, I set this up myself already. But we did have a basic Pokemon, so now we need to play 6 prize cards. And what the prize cards are is whenever you knock out one of your opponent's Pokemon, you take 1 prize card from your own side, of course. And this is the most common way of winning the game. It's to take all of your prize cards. There are some other methods, but again, this is the most common. This is what I'm going to focus on for now. So then you'll flip a coin, deciding who goes first. For the sake of the tutorial, I'll just go first. Most people actually, especially in tournaments, don't use coins. They use dice. It's really good if you can get yourself a block of dice like this. This is 36 dice, and they're 9 millimeters. It cost me, I think, like $13, but I probably overpaid a little bit, because I've seen them somewhere for about 10. And if you don't want like the translucent ones, I want to say there's some rule that requires you to have translucent ones with like rounded edges. But if you just get like solid colors and you don't really care that much about it, then you can probably get it for like 6 or 7. Anyway, so you flip a coin. Even is heads and odd is tails. And then both players will flip their Pokemon. So then your turn starts. At the beginning of your turn, you're always going to draw a card. And if you have no cards left in your deck to draw, then simply put, you lose the game. And that's one of the ways that you can win. It's rare that a deck is successful in, milling your opponent's deck. But it does happen. And there's one deck in the format that actually is reasonably good and does that. Anyway, when it's your turn, you can do a whole lot of different things. You can attach energy cards, which I'll explain a little more in a bit. You can play trainer cards, and you can play supporters. Now, the current rules state that the person who goes first does get to play trainer cards and supporter cards if they want to. It didn't used to be like that, and most people don't like this new ruling, but whatever, you gotta deal with it. So anyway, first thing to go with would probably be Lynette's Net Search. It's really similar to a very popular card right now that's actually legal to play in the format called Pokemon Collector. It does basically the same thing. You search your deck for 3 basic Pokemon. And then you have to shuffle your deck afterwards. So let's see, we had an Arbok in our hands, so let's take an Ekans. Let's take an Eevee. And let's go with a Tangela. and then, shuffle our deck, whatever. I'm not going to really focus on that too much. And then let's bench all of these guys. Next, what we can do is we can play trainers if we want to. We have the supporter that lets us find an evolved Pokemon, but you can only play one supporter per turn. Now, in these old cards, when they first introduced supporters, it says supporter in really small text in the corner. Hopefully it'll focus. But now they make it really obvious when it's a supporter. It says it right up here. And then trainers, we'll just say trainer, or I think now it says like trainer item. They always are changing this around. I think actually now supporters say like trainer supporter. It says somewhere on the card that it's a supporter. And we could play trainers, and on the other side of the field, the opponent has a Reshiram and a Vulpix, and the Vulpix has a lot less health, so it would probably be easier if we knocked out that. So we have Gust of Wind, which is really similar, basically the same thing as another card that's legal in the format right now called Pokemon Catcher. You basically get to choose one of your opponent's benched Pokemon and switch it with their active Pokemon. So let's play that trainer. We can play as many trainers as we want per turn, but we only have that one in our hand. It would be beneficial for us to use it. So now, there's really not much else we can do. We can't evolve anything because a Pokemon has to have been in play for at least one turn for you to be able to evolve it. So next turn, we could evolve any of these Pokemon, but this turn we can't. You can attach energy to pay for attacks. Now, I could attach really an energy to any of these Pokemon, but it would probably be most beneficial for me to attach it to Spheal. Now, if we look at Spheal, here in the top left corner, we've got the card's name, Team Aqua's Spheal. The top right, we've got 40 HP and its type. This symbol is for water, and it'll be important because you'll notice Vulpix has a weakness to water, which I'll get to a bit. Then we've got, obviously, the card art. And then we've got the card text. Some cards have Pokemon powers or Poke powers and Poke bodies. Or now the new way they do them is abilities. And that's something that doesn't really require energy. It's not like an attack. But Spheal doesn't have one of those. It only has one attack. Costs 1 water energy, which is Powder Snow. Deals 10 damage and puts the defending Pokemon, which is your opponent's active Pokemon, to sleep. And then on the bottom it has a weakness to metal. Weaknesses will always be based on whatever's denoted at the bottom of the card, which right now is always ×2. It used to be ×2, and then for a while it was like plus whatever number it would say on the bottom, and now it's ×2 again. Its resistance is anything it might resist damage from. For example, if we look at Tangela, if it's hit by a water Pokemon, it'll take less damage, based on the resistance. And the retreat cost is how many energy you have to pay to retreat. So the energy you have to pay, it depends on whatever is next to the attack you want to use. And you'll notice with some Pokemon, like this Tangela here, it's grass and then these 2 white symbols. Those are colorless energy. Colorless can be any type. So I could pay for that with 3 grass energy, a grass and 2 waters, and there's even an energy called double colorless, which provides 2 energy, but they can only be colorless. And it can sometimes be a really useful energy card for really speeding up how quickly you can set up some of your attacks. So anyway, let's do that. Let's attach a water energy to Spheal here, and let's use Powder Snow and put the defending Pokemon to sleep. Another great thing about dice is you can use them as damage counters. Theme decks come with some damage counters, but they're okay. If you don't have dice, and you don't feel like getting them, probably the next best thing you could use is coins. Penny can be 10 damage, nickel can be 50, and dime can be 100. And since it says the defending Pokemon is asleep, the way status conditions work in the trading card game is for sleep, you turn the card, usually counterclockwise, but I don't think it actually matters as long as you turn it sideways. And in between turns, the opponent will have to flip a coin based on whether that their Pokemon will wake up or not. And if one of your Pokemon is asleep, like some Pokemon have attacks or abilities that put your own Pokemon to sleep, you'll also flip a coin between every single exchange of turns. The way confusion would work is you're flipped 180 degrees, and before you attack, you have to flip a coin, and if tails, you put 3 damage counters on that confused Pokemon. If you are paralyzed, you're turned the other way. You basically can't do anything, but at the end of the turn, you go back to normal. And if you're burned, burn and poison are denoted with counters. Poison puts 10 damage on the Pokemon between every exchange of turns. And then for burn, whenever whenever it's in between turns, the person with the burned Pokemon flips a coin. If they get tails, they take 20 damage. The nice thing about some of the playmats is with the new ones, it actually explains status conditions on the side. That's one of the reasons I chose this playmat. Also because it has markers for all the areas, so I can kind of show that to you guys better. And it's easier for me to explain. I normally don't actually play with playmats. Anyway, so now it's in between turns. The opponent's Vulpix is asleep. Let's just pretend it's still asleep, and then they flip again. It wakes up between turns, but by this point, it's my turn. So I'll draw a card. Ooh, nice, Team Aqua's Walrein. Anyway, now I can start evolving Pokemon if I want. So let's see. Let's evolve our nice little Ekans into Arbok here. And let's also evolve Team Aqua Celio, or Team Aqua Sfeel into Team Aqua Celio, because if we use Aqua Trance, we'd be able to knock out that Vulpix. And since we've got it, let's use our supporter to find ourselves an evolved Pokemon. So maybe let's find ourselves a Tangrowth. I'm not going to bother shuffling it right now. And I'm not going to evolve that quite yet, because it might be useful for me to have that stay how it is. Anyway, we have a couple options here of what we could do. We could attach another energy elsewhere, and it'd probably be best to put that onto this Tangela. We could evolve that Tangela, but of course we don't want to. We could have also attached the energy to Eevee, and with its Pokepower, we could have found ourselves a Leafeon because it's a grass energy. But the simplest thing for us to do right now would be to use Aqua Trance and to deal 20 times 2, which would be enough to knock out this Vulpix here. So the opponent would put that in their discard, and they'd have to choose a new Pokemon to play up before they get to start their turn. And then meanwhile, we get to draw a prize card. So then, I don't know what the opponent's up to. Let's just say they're up to something. And for whatever reason, our next turn starts. Maybe we want to retreat from Celio. So we can pay the retreat cost of 1 energy. We can switch it with any Pokemon we want on our bench. Let's switch it with Tangela. Normally this would be a really stupid idea, but we can roll with it. And so the game will continue on. And, I could use Tangela's attack. But I think you guys get the gist of it. That's really just about all there is that I can think of, because I've covered, how to start a game, attacks, what's to a Pokemon card, basically, status conditions, prizes. So that's really about it as far as I'm concerned. Like I said, it's a pretty simple game, and you just keep going until someone wins in some way or another. Actually, there is one thing I forgot to cover, and it's another type of trainer card called a Stadium card. I think now they're denoted as Trainer Stadium. Sometimes they'll just say Stadium on top. But anyway, what those are cards that you play right in the middle of the field, basically. And their effect can apply to both players. Although there aren't a whole ton of them in the format right now, and just overall there weren't an immense amount of stadiums, though there have been some cool ones in the past. Just something you guys should probably know about. Maybe another thing I should mention is the Lost Zone. This isn't a huge mechanic of Pokemon, but it still is one. You've got your discard pile over here. where it's cards that you've used and they're gone. But there are ways to recover cards in the discard pile using some trainers, or sometimes there are attacks that'll help you do so. With the Lost Zone, stuff in the Lost Zone is unrecoverable. It's gone. Gone for good. So, that's really about it. There are only a few Pokemon that notably use it, like Mew Prime, Gengar Prime, Magnezone Prime, Pachirisu. It's a pretty new mechanic overall. I think it was introduced with the Triumphant set. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video helpful, especially whoever it was that requested it. And meanwhile, I'll make some more Pokemon videos here and there. So if you like this video, please rate, comment, subscribe. Check out my other ones. Maybe send this to your friends. And I will see you guys next time.